grown up, if you're old enough to remember, the heady days of pirate radio. I'm admitting nothing, of course. Back in the 60s, the bravest buccaneer of them all was Radio Caroline. It skated around the law, incurred the wrath of the establishment, but won the hearts of the listeners nationwide. Now, the former scourge of broadcasting regulators is back in business. This time, it's all above board. Leslie Carr went on board to investigate.
The Blackwater estuary on the southeast coast, and a true marine legend if ever there was one. Radio Caroline, defiant after all these years, is back on the air. Caroline, the sound of the nation. 30 years ago, one of the pioneers was Johnny Walker.
It's always had that magic. I suppose it was the first one, and there's never anything like the first. Listeners responded to it in such an incredible way. I mean,
off the air since 1991, Caroline's now been granted a 28-day licence. With the blessing of the authorities, she's the official radio station to the forthcoming Southeast Boat Show. Less happy days in 1966. Caroline ran aground in gales. Most of the pirates had to be rescued.
You're listening to Radio Caroline 97.7.
Somehow it all kept going, and before Radio 1 was a twinkle in the BBC's eye, the pirates played pop, and the punters loved it.
The very word pirate does give immediately summons up this whole wonderful image, you know. So obviously we had that was part of our appeal. And when you went on shore and we go to discotheques and do public appearances and things, you know, oh, we got one of the pirates in tonight. So, you know, it gave you that special sort of buzz about it.
Caroline has always sailed close to the wind. In fact, 5 years ago, the Dutch authorities forcibly boarded the ship and confiscated all the records. They gave them back eventually, I'm glad to say, and the collection has now swollen to over 18,000. Nowadays, volunteers spin the discs and maintain the ship, the ultimate anoraks. Most got hooked on Caroline in their teens.
Eventually, it'll come good, and we'll get a licence, and we'll be able to do it properly. And then, hopefully, one day we may even get paid.
I mean, I never set off to make money to start with. I mean, we set off to break artists, to give unknown artists an opportunity to be heard.
For now, Caroline can only be heard on the southeast coast. As for the future, well, they're working on a scheme to conquer the nation's airwaves again, but the details are a closely guarded secret. Leslie Carr, GMTV News.
Great days when it first started. See, the problem was, in those old days, which I, of course, remember, was that when British pop music was in its ascendancy and all over the world, there was nothing to listen to on the radio. I think they had something called the Light programme. Problem with this is, of course, problem with this is it's legal now, isn't it?
I know, it can't possibly be the same. I mean, how can you have a Buccaneer, you know, pirate radio and it's legal? It doesn't
Were you a
make
Radio
sense.
Luxembourg girl?
Yeah, I was, definitely. Radio Luxembourg.
You always play safe, don't you?